Hi, folks. My name's Paul Otto. I teach history in the Department of History, Sociology, and Politics. So I know a few of you, but not all of you. But we're trying to reach out as a faculty during this difficult time when you can't visit us. So this is where I work at home, and I actually work here quite a bit. But I thought you could see how I have things set up, and not only the computer space, but this is where I do research. So my camera operator is actually showing you my bookcases to either side, and my mess. Thank you, I appreciate that. One of the things that's part of my research is material culture, because I study wampum. So I collect some artifacts. They're not necessarily historic, but I have a few things in here related to wampum. Some of them are shells that wampum's made from. Some of them are these trading cards, and so in the popularization and commodification of wampum today. But what I really want to talk to you about is how challenging it is, I think, for all of us to be isolated, whether we're at home with family or whether some of you may be in apartments away from home, maybe a state or two away. And even for those of us who are at home, we're disconnected from other people we care about. So one of those people, in my case, is my mom's cousin, who lives in California, and he's now being treated for cancer. He's elderly. He's one of my last living relatives on that side. I've been staying in contact with him by email, but he's been, and phone calls, but he's been particularly interested in the history of my grandfather, his uncle, who was, like all of us, a part of history. Some of us, I guess, in more interesting ways than others. But my grandpa worked at Lockheed, starting in World War II, as a machinist at what became known as the Skunk Works, where they worked on experimental aircraft. And so some of the things I've been sharing with Dawn, my cousin, are some photos that I discovered. So this is a group of the engineers and machinists, and this is my grandpa. He, I guess, got upgraded from machinist to crew chief at one point, because now he's wearing a tie. And here he is in front of with the whole crew out on the flight line in front of an F-94. He's off here. And that plane looks like, well, there's several of them. Here's one version of it. That's another version of the F-94. And then among these photos and artifacts that I discovered among my parents' things was this newspaper clipping. And sure enough, though my grandpa wasn't a pilot, he got his photograph taken as the crew chief in the cockpit of this aircraft. I had known that I had this. It was, like I said, with my parents' things, and I just found it. So what I want to share is not just the importance of staying connected with family, even if you do it by email or phone, but a recognition of the history that's around us. So I have one more thing I'll share with you, because my grandfather had passed down through his son, my mom's brother, to me, his rollaway tool chest from when he was a machinist. So we'll start the video again in just a moment in the garage, and I'll show you that. Okay, so here we are in my garage, and it doesn't look like much to speak of, the tool chest and the rollaway, but these are from the World War II era, when my grandfather went to work for Lockheed. So, okay, some wrenches, miscellaneous things. So we're not going to go through all of it. A couple more drawers down here. But when I was going through these tools, and it all just came to me, and there's a big wrench. When these things came to me last summer, I had never really looked through them. And I was fascinated to go through and get into this drawer and actually find documents. But among these things, I've discovered that as a machinist, my grandpa had been a member of Machinists International. So he was in a trade union, and this was his union book. And this was another one. Other things, it there was at least one set of blueprints in here. This is not the jet that we looked at before, but it was a blueprint of a fuselage. I thought that was fascinating. And then one last thing I'll show you, and then we'll end this overly long video. My grandfather was not just a person who at work thought about work, but he was a fly fisherman. And so I discovered here in his toolbox this map of the Eastern Sierras, which is hard to tell. It's all sort of oil soaked. But this place in particular, Bishop and Bishop Creek, was where my mom often talked about going fishing and camping growing up. And this was a wonderful little discovery of personal history among my parents and my grandparents' things. So, I thank you for your time, and I wish you guys all well on these difficult days. We have just 4 weeks ahead until the end of the semester, and I hope you have a strong finish. And we're thinking of you and praying for you.